All right, go ahead and roll for perception.
I got a 13.
Hey, that's pretty good. With that, you can tell there's some fantasy situations going on. You hear some adult language, and with that, you can tell this podcast probably isn't for kids.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
And I'm Brian.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons & Dragons, from juggling jesters to jumping jackalwares. And today, we're talking about the Aarakocra. Or is it Aarakocra? Let's find out.
Prepare yourselves.
I cast Fireball. The Dungeoncast. The Aarakocra, or Aarakocra. I'm going to call him the Aarakocra for this episode, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll hear all about it in the comments. It's an interesting race. It's actually a race I haven't seen before 5th edition because I didn't play too much of 3.5, and I played extensively 4th edition, and the Aarakocra did not exist in 4th edition.
The Aarakocra.
Yeah, the Aarakocra. Well, it did exist. It was a monster. And I just kind of assumed that...
I did not know it was a monster.
Yeah, it was a monster. It was a monster. Yeah, and I just kind of assumed that it's kind of been a monster over all these editions, but apparently not. Apparently it was a race as early as 1st edition. You know what this podcast has taught me, if anything, is that there was a lot more around in 1st edition than I thought. I thought 1st edition was like real basic.
Yeah, like
you got your fighter, vanilla. Your cleric, your rogue, and your cleric.
You said cleric twice.
I said cleric twice, and your wizard.
Yeah, there it is.
Was that the one? Okay.
I think so.
All right, you had your 4 base classes, and you had like halfling, dwarf, elf, and human, and and then you just went out and you fought goblins and dragons, and that was that. Just real vanilla. But apparently there was all this crazy shit. So
was the jackalware around?
Probably. I don't know. When
we do the
jackalware episode, we'll I'm
going to be the authority because I read the jackalware page today.
You probably know more about the jackalware than I do at this point. So.
All this stuff's everything. There's more jackalware stuff that isn't about the jackalware. I feel like, like the
what do you mean by that?
Like the demon lord and like the
the cult. If it's tied to demons, there's so much demon lore. But
yeah, we're not talking about that.
That's for a future episode.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So yeah, they apparently they were raced in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition. They just weren't 1 and 4th, and now they're back in 5th. And let's describe what an Aarakocra is. They are humanoid creatures with the heads of eagles, kind of.
Yeah,
usually like a bird of prey. Usually it's like an eagle or a hawk or a falcon.
That sharp beak. Those streamlined eyes and face.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're covered in feathers. They have talons for feet.
Yes.
They
real nasty looking ones.
Yeah, they have hands, but they're only it's like 3 fingers and a thumb.
Yeah, and they're not attached to the wings like how some creatures that have something like that.
So they used to be.
Oh, okay.
And now they're not. And I prefer it when they're not. But it used to be they were attached to the wings so they couldn't fly and wield stuff at the same time, but that's not the case anymore. Now they have 2 arms and 2 wings.
It seems kind of cumbersome, like if you have arms and wings, because in a bird, the wings would go down over where the arms would normally be. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool to think like, well, they could be warm. They could keep their arms warm like that. Or they could, or they're trying to get, do battle and they want to like tuck in their wings. Maybe they have to tuck them in behind their arms or like.
Yeah, maybe.
Like shoot them down the back of their leg.
Yeah, why not?
I'm just trying.
I'm
trying to visualize it.
Yeah, that's true. I imagine when they're fighting, they try and tuck their wings back. Otherwise, it's just another target.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a target too.
It's hard to turn because you're catching too much air.
Yeah, because they're only 5 feet tall on average, but their wingspan is on average 20 feet wingspan.
Yeah,
which makes sense. Honestly, I think it would have to be a little bigger in real physics terms. But they're also bird. They do have like hollowish bones, like they're lighter than normal. So they got that going for them.
Cool.
So they usually live in high mountains.
With our friends, the Goliaths.
Yeah, but like, okay, here's the thing. Yes. And I kind of was like, I've always kind of wondered, like, what's the relationship between the Aarakocra and the Goliaths? They kind of share the same space. I could find zero lore out there between the two of them, like whatsoever. I was like, this is weird. Well, in my world, they hate each other and they fight. So that's the way I do it. But one cool thing about the Aarakocra is they live in mountains, but they prefer to spend their time in the sky. And they have these huge swaths of land that are like their territory, their hunting territory. We're talking like 10,000 square miles because they fly. Nice. So like distance doesn't mean as much to them.
Yeah.
And also they have a thing where the Aarakocra are known for not having a solid grasp on like personal possessions. So like this is their hunting territory, but they don't own this land. And they also have no concept for other people who do claim to own these lands. And like they actually come into conflict a lot of times with like society, like when they just make off with someone's livestock.
Hey, get off my shit.
Oh yeah, it's not just that. It's like, oh shit, bring that sheep back. That's my sheep.
Yeah,
and he's like, sorry,
sure.
bro, I'm gonna eat this.
No, come get it.
Yeah, come get it, bitch. It flies off. It's like, Jesus, these asshole Aarakocra.
Are they all assholes?
No, they're not assholes, but like they that's a thing with them. They don't. They
don't believe in the boundaries society puts up on land and things like that. Material possessions.
I would say these, as far as like humanoids go, these are the most unhuman thinking of the races I think we've covered so far.
Okay.
I mean, maybe gnomes can be a little fayish and stuff, but like this is like straight up like almost a different animal. They have a very bird-like way of approaching things, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
So they're a tribal society, kind of like Goliaths, but they're actually the opposite when it comes to the way they run their tribes, where the Goliath episode, we talked about how Goliaths never get old.
Right.
So they don't.
And that's not because they don't age.
It's not because they don't age. Exactly.
High
with the
high risk, low survivability athletics.
Yeah, that's exactly how they live their lives. The Aarakocra have a gerontocracy, where it's literally, if you're the oldest, you're chief now. Period. End of story.
Oh shit.
If you're second oldest, you're now the shaman. Which is weird because, like, what if you were the third oldest the whole time and, like, you never, like, learned shamanistic stuff because you're busy being a hunter or whatever, and suddenly number 2 dies? Well, now you're the shaman. You don't know shit. Like, that's got to be weird, right?
I don't know if I should start reading these shaman books. I'm pretty close to being the elder also.
I know, right? So it's a weird way to run it, but I kind of like it. I think it's pretty cool. And they have
does being the shaman entail something specific? In that sense,
I think
what does the title mean?
It's basically you're going to be the leader of like the religious rites, and like there is some religion that goes with being Aarakocra. Sometimes they worship like a goddess of the sky. Sometimes they worship maybe a primordial there. It really depends on your lore. In Forgotten Realms, they do have a specific deity, and I cannot for the life of me remember her name. I'm not as well versed in Forgotten Realms as some other people are, and it's a very not main deity as it is, so it's very off the beaten.
So
road.
The shaman isn't like a witch doctor.
I would venture to say they are. They probably do a lot of primal stuff, very druidic. One cool thing that they can do is that one shaman, along with it might be 5 or 4. I think it's 5 other Aarakocra together can form a circle and do a special like racial chant.
Okay.
And summon an air elemental to do their bidding. That's just something they can inherently do.
That's like,
which I think is pretty cool.
When 5 Saiyans touch each other, they can fucking make the Super Saiyan God.
True. Yeah. That's a thing now. For DBZ fans that didn't know, that's a thing now.
Yeah, you just touch each other.
Yeah.
And you become God.
So they live in these up in these mountains. They live in these giant communal nests that they build out of like vines and grass and whatnot. So
shit! So it's just like this huge like flat canvas of like twigs and leaves. And
what
shit?
I picture is like not so much a flat canvas as I picture almost like a spherical dome. But then again, that doesn't make sense because the Aarakocra don't like being indoors, which is something we'll get. So yeah, it has to be like an open nest with no ceiling. It has to be.
Yeah,
because they don't like being inside.
Maybe
whatsoever.
like per platform, the sides come up and you go from like platform to platform.
Yeah, I can see
some
that.
of the platforms are huge and some of them are small.
There we go.
Are home dwellings, maybe. Yeah, that's maybe how I would do it.
Yeah, exactly. They don't like that roof over their head, so they live in these huge nests. And yes, they do lay eggs. And there's like an 8-month incubation period and whatnot. So
shit.
Yeah, so
that's cool. That's in the lore.
Like it's in the lore. Yeah, like, they lay eggs and it takes 8 months.
Oh shit!
It is.
How old do Aarakocra get?
Gosh, I remember this one being specifically weird. I think they die super young,
like 30. Why do I feel like it's like 30 years?
I think you're right. Let me see. My notes might hold it somewhere.
Got the handy dandy player's handbook.
It is really young, and yeah, go ahead and open that up. But I want to say I think it's 30. I think that's it. They reach maturity at like age 2 or 3.
Oh wait, it's not in the player's handbook. It's in Volo's guide.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I remember.
Okay,
I remember now.
It's 30 years.
It's
right?
they die around their 30th year, but they reach full maturity by year 2 or 3 of their lives, which is crazy. Like that's weird, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm 4 years old and I'm an adventurer now.
Well, I've learned to
like
hunt.
I'm already shaman.
Yeah.
It's like what? That's crazy. So that's Aarakocra are a weird race. I've never really been drawn to them. I think they're alien enough to human mentality that I don't really want to roleplay one. Plus, I don't want to have the head of a bird. I don't know.
You're just not into birds?
I guess not. Like, I like birds.
I'll tell you something.
I don't not like birds.
I'll tell you something about myself. I don't like birds at all. The only kind of birds I respect the macaw. They have some intelligence going on. They look beautiful. This and that.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, dude, birds just like the world is my toilet. I'm not into that.
That's true.
You're like flying rats, my dudes. And when it comes to fantasy, the Aarakocra, it's not like that. It's pretty cool.
Well, it might be like that. I don't know. The Lord doesn't cover it. Can you imagine? You're a farmer, and then just minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, an Aarakocra.
I wonder if it's like a normal human Duke. Where
or maybe it's just like appropriately sized bird.
Can you
Duke.
just imagine just a loaf falling out of the sky and hitting you catching you in like the neck?
I think that would be better than the reverse though, because if it was like the soupy white milk shit, just my God.
Well, let's take a rest.
Yeah,
Can we just rest?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's wash our bodies.
Right.
I feel unclean.
Short rest time.
Everybody, welcome to the part of the show where we stop talking about that last thing and talk about something else. What are we talking about today? Anything? Nothing really, huh?
Just I don't think any. Well, I don't want to say nothing too special. I think it is very special to say that. Hey, welcome to all the new listeners, because gosh, there are a lot of them. Jeez, it's been a crazy month of growth for us. So
very nice.
Welcome.
Yes, and thank you.
Thank you for listening in,
and thank you for making it to this part of the show. We're glad you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Will, you enjoying making the show?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Aarakocra shit. Like that's
what?
Great talking point.
I forgot.
Okay, well,
is that what we were talking about?
I'm sure we'll get back to it.
Well, we are resting.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to leave that. I'm supposed to leave that behind. And on top of welcoming all the new people, thank you to everybody who has been spreading word about the show. I read your tweets. And I try and like all of them if I see them. I see people spreading the word, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure Brian does too.
Yes, absolutely. I'm reading all the YouTube comments and stuff. That's fun. Yeah, if you listen to our show, our show is on YouTube if you want to see our faces, and if you're listening to this on YouTube, we are also a podcast. So if you don't want to have YouTube open, just hit us up on I don't know, Podcast Addict, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Yeah. SoundCloud.com/the Dungeoncast, in fact. Mm-hmm. Search the Dungeoncast, you'll find us on YouTube. But yeah, thanks to everybody who's been leaving reviews and giving us some constructive feedback. We really appreciate it. I can't say enough how like rewarding it is to be involved in the community and really hear what you guys have to say and all that, and talk D&D with all of you. So yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we hope you continue to. Please tell your friends, tell anybody you think who likes D&D or would just like the show. Maybe they're looking to get into it.
I got one other thing to add, and I just thought of this right now. We have finished all the classes in the player's handbook, and this current episode on Aarakocra is probably going to be the last race episode we do for a while. So we're going to be starting some new series, and we will be getting back to more races and more class stuff too. Like that's not going to be something we stop doing here. But I did
just later on.
Yeah, I did run a poll on Twitter. I actually had to run two, asking which deity people want to learn about the most, because one of the next series that we will be starting will be gods and greater powers kind of episode, and it was a tie between Tiamat and Asmodeus, so I had to run a second.
Nice, both
poll,
are good.
And Asmodeus pulled ahead by like 2% at the end there, so that'll be the first one. And I'm not sure when we'll be recording that, but pretty soon. I think we're gonna dive into some monster stuff for a bit, and then we'll start some new series.
I'll tell you what, I got a lot to say about Asmo.
Oh yeah,
the homie. Yes, I do actually.
Okay, all right. I want to hear it.
I played Diablo 3,
yeah,
and he's all up in the shit.
We'll have to talk a lot about like the archdukes, because each one is based off a prominent like biblical devil.
Right, and I did read that. I did listen to that Myths and Legends about Solomon, so Asmo was all up in that too.
He's all in that too.
Bitch slapping people.
All right. Well, we're getting off subject, so I think are we ready?
Yeah,
we ready?
the bump is done.
The bump is done. Let's
go back
to the show.
Yeah, hi, welcome back.
Yeah.
Are we still talking about defecation?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to say, like, these farmers and these Aarakocra must really not get along.
Farmers versus Aarakocra, for sure.
Indeed.
Always.
Okay, so
don't be a mountain farmer.
Don't be
those assholes.
Stay away from those mountains. Speaking of mountains, before we move on to some of this other stuff when it comes to Aarakocra, one of their main locations of choice to live is the elemental plane of air.
What? They live in the elemental plane of air?
A lot of them do.
Do Genasi do that also? Isn't it
They're
volatile
supposed
for them?
to. Okay, so here's the thing. This is what bugs me about the elemental planes, and I'm not going to go on too big of a rant. Is they're ridiculous?
Okay.
Like, okay, the elemental chaos, I get, because like it's kind of all the elements kind of fighting each other while melding together and forming like this landscape. Guess what the elemental plane of air looks like?
Cloud City from Star Wars?
Sky in all directions. There's no land, just sky.
Straight up air.
Just air.
Just
nothing but air.
Well, what the eye can't see, Will, is all these gases vying for power.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And but my point is, like, where the fuck do they land? Now, there are supposed to be like some like bleed over from other planes. So like sometimes there'll be like little like remote like Earth motes like the size of meteors maybe.
Okay.
It's like, oh, so I guess they'd have to live there.
Maybe they just they find like one, like maybe there's like a giant column of like hot air rising somewhere in there, and they just like build like a wooden brace to hold their wings out in flight position so they can just like float and sleep. One
thing about Aarakocra is they can fly for not only days on end, they have the capability of flying for months on end.
What if they're asleep?
Including if they're asleep. It says months on end, bro. I imagine they sleep.
Maybe they don't need to sleep.
Well, no, they sleep. They need to sleep. They need those full rests.
Wait, do you think it means that they land to sleep, or are they just like
they just lock their wings and they can sleep? Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
They're just super gliding.
Yeah, they can just glide for months on end. Which that helps, but I mean, eventually,
let me gain this height so I can like really sleep tonight.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though, like, okay, you can fly for months on end. That's great and all, but like you have to land. So like they have to be living on these either Earth motes, or there is another option. I know that air genies and I know that cloud giants can live on clouds. So are we saying that there are in fact clouds in the elemental plane of air that are like solid enough that Aarakocra can like live on them? Maybe. Probably in my world, I'm going to do that.
Super magic clouds.
And maybe I haven't looked into it enough, but like from my cursory read over of the plane of air, it's nothing but sky.
That's interesting.
Ain't nothing but sky. So because of that, some of the Aarakocra that are from the plane of air have a really hard time in the prime material plane because they have no sense of vertical like height distance.
Okay.
So like they feel extremely claustrophobic. And speaking of claustrophobia, Aarakocra in general don't like to walk on land. They don't like to land whatsoever. They refuse to go underground or even in houses sometimes.
See, like this now we're breaching into some territory where it's like hard to be an adventurer.
Right. Yes. It's very, because like if you role play all these things according to the players or the elemental player's guide or whatever it's called, it could be very difficult because it's like your character doesn't like to do anything. They even say in that book that often like you need to give your Aarakocra PC a very great purpose in order to go forth because they're actually pretty happy with their lot in life. Okay. It takes a lot to make them go forward and do something else because like otherwise they just like living their lives flying around eating shit.
I'm going to steal these sheep and
living their short lives.
Kick it for about 20 to 30 years and just die.
Exactly. So something drastic needs to happen. Something of great importance.
For sure.
They hate the land to the point where they pity landlocked races, which is everybody who is in them. So they really just like, you poor soul, you'll never like feel,
you'll never understand what it has to have wings.
Right, exactly.
Stupid idiots.
Yeah. Here's the thing. When the Aarakocra came out, I remember there was a little bit of a hubbub about them being overpowered because they could fly.
Right. I mean, like if you can just endlessly fly even in your sleep, like,
right.
Like the role play for me would be like, well, the party is taking a short rest. I'm going to either go scout or taking a long rest. I mean, they're going to bed. I'm either going to go scout, keep watch, or I'm going to go roost somewhere high up, far away from them. I'm going to be almost constant. Like for most of the day, I'm going to be split from the party.
Yeah, I could see that if you wanted to role play it like that. I think the main problem the dungeon masters were having where it's like, well, a lot of the stuff that you traditionally can put in front of like low level players as an obstacle, they can just fly over, which I can see that being an issue. You know, like you put like, I don't know, canyon in the way. Aarakocra could just fly over it.
But they're not strong enough to carry another person, are they?
Not normally. I think they might be if you're like a high strength character, maybe.
Yeah, what kind of would it be?
I know
like
they can't fly with heavy armor.
Would it be like yes, that would be bad.
Yeah. So
would it be a strength check if a player has to do that?
Definitely. I would have to read the rules more closely because if it is disallowed, I'm going to disallow it completely.
Right.
But if it's not, then yeah, I'm going to run like a strength and endurance kind of challenge thing for them. I'm going to make it very difficult because that's a lot of weight. Depending on the person, it might be like a halfling.
Okay.
That wouldn't be so hard, but it also might be a burly barbarian, and then you got a problem. And the paladin, nope, that's not happening. Not if he's in his armor. He's leaving that armor on the other side of the cliff.
Damn, paladin Aarakocra, for sure.
That'd be kind of cool. I like the idea. Okay, so here's another thing. I like this idea, but here's another thing that was brought up about it being overpowered is like they can wield weapons when they're flying. You got an Aarakocra ranger with a longbow.
Exactly
he's
what
up
I
there.
was.
He's just sniping shit. And I granted, all these complaints are absolutely valid, absolutely, and that does make the Aarakocra in some ways very much more powerful than other races.
It's complicated.
But as a dungeon master, like I can't see any of those being such a problem that I can't handle that.
Yeah, find your way around it. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe lots of people, like maybe squads of enemies roll around and they have an archer in the party.
Yeah, they have artillery, exactly.
Yeah, like this is the way the world's designed. So you're gonna need an archer because like range is a thing.
And if the Aarakocra gets low enough in HP, like he or she's gonna have to land or fucking die because the second they drop to 0 HP and they're like 40 feet in the air, chances are if they hit the ground, they're not surviving.
Fall damage,
yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's give and take. I understand this more than some other like race bans when it comes to banning certain races at your party. I wouldn't ban this race because I don't have a problem with it, but I could see it being a little annoying.
You are gonna have to DM your way around it. That's the bottom line. I mean, like if you're gonna have range attackers going after, maybe you can find some kind of magic to make this character have to deal with being lowered to the ground. Maybe they get lassoed or tethered in some way.
Oh, that'd be cool. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a lot of stuff to them, but you're gonna always have to. I mean, this or just
Also, you gotta let them shine. You know, they chose a race. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, so
they're gonna want to fly, right?
Yeah, they're gonna want to fly. That's why they chose the fucking race. But here's the thing. Like we had
not always. We'll get there.
We had a player who joined a game of mine, a good friend of Brian's, Jake, who's been on the show.
Jake.
Yeah, special guest Jake, and he wanted to be an Aarakocra. That was the first thing he wanted to be. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, he could be that. I just want to talk to him about how the wings will be overpowered. And you were like, you don't got to worry about that because he wants his wings to be cut off. I was like, oh shit, really? He's like, yeah, it's like part of his backstory. He had this huge backstory about how like he was shamed, his wings were cut off, and he was dispelled from his tribe. He was basically like a reject or whatever. And I was like, fuck, like, well, that's awesome, but like, we got to figure something out because now he's gone from really overpowered to severely underpowered. Because that's the thing about the Aarakocra is like, flight is like their main feature. Everything else is like really
pretty
just
average.
Like,
yeah,
not even average. It's way below average. They
really?
basically get nothing else.
Well, how did we end up compensating?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Did we let him dual wield or something like that? Because he was dual wielding tridents, which I thought was fucking awesome.
Yeah, we gave him some homebrew weapon stuff.
Oh, did he get an extra talon like attack or something?
No, we didn't give him nothing like that. He was just okay with it. I was just like, yeah. I was like, you realize how underpowered this is, and he was like, yeah, no problem. I was like, fuck. You're a good player, bro. We haven't even started. Like, this is great. Unfortunately, that character did die. Although it didn't have anything to do with the wings.
No, like, nothing about being underpowered made this character die.
It was just a really
poor
unfortunate event.
happenstance. Yeah, and Nick.
So yeah. Our warlock got him killed.
More or less, yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about like their behavior because we talked a little bit about how like they have a hard time with possessions, like they don't.
Yeah. Like so, like obviously, if they're adventuring, their weapon is important to them. Their means of defending themselves.
Yeah, but they don't like if they were to have their weapons stolen, they wouldn't be mad about it in the same way that a human might be.
Yeah, they're like, well, I just need something else to defend myself.
Yeah, there's no sentimental-ness,
right?
And quite honestly, like they don't have enough time alive.
Yeah, it's not like my father gave me this berry, forged it with his talons.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Like, they don't give a shit.
They really don't.
Okay.
They like to obsessively groom their plumage, much like a bird does.
Oh yeah, I remember Jake doing a role play with that.
He did that. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is a lot of fun. Where he was like, he jumped in the river
and he would like
like
sing.
Yeah, he was like singing. I was like, this is fucking bizarre, but really cool. Like I liked it a lot. It was really cool.
There was like this dwarf squad that like got super into it.
Yeah,
too.
he was
they were,
like he had this beautiful
us.
singing voice, and they were like, oh shit, this dude can jam. Like yeah, it was pretty cool. I forgot about that. That was a good. That was fun
role play.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
We didn't do anything that session. We were like in an interim where we were like in this town and like sailing down a river and like
Was that the I'm trying to remember. Was that the session? I keep wanting to say episode. Was that the episode where you guys ran into that gnome that was like had all this illegal contraband and you guys were trying to figure out what he was about? You remember?
I don't remember that.
All right, moving on.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So communication is a thing with them. They like to punctuate a lot of what they say with like chirps or whistles and whatnot.
Yes.
And they use these chirps and whistles in place of what like other humanoids use facial expressions for. So like an Aarakocra might sound real neutral about something, but like might be giving a very specific chirp at the end of a sentence, making sure that other Aarakocra know he's angry.
Yeah.
But other humanoids don't pick up on that, so they have no idea. And like there could be some real communication breakdown between the Aarakocra and like
it's like their
people.
Their special like their accent, if you will.
Almost like their accent. Have you ever played Mass Effect?
No.
Okay. Well, in Mass Effect, there is a race that I can't remember the name of, but they're like these big, almost elephant-like quadruped, very intelligent though.
Cool.
But the thing is that they, their inflection of voice is so subtle that other intelligent species can't tell when they're inflecting emotion. So what they've learned to do is when they're talking to people that aren't of their race, they will literally end their sentence with their emotion. So like they'll say something and then be like angry, blah, 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 frustration. And like, I thought I was like, this is cool. Mass Effect is dope as fuck. There's some seriously cool world building going on.
I'm going to kill you now. Enraged.
Yeah, that's exactly what they would do. It's exactly how they would sound doing it. So,
that's kind of scary.
It's kind of scary, yeah. So it's kind of like that, where it's like, I'm going to kill you, chirp, 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 chirp.
For
like,
sure.
But that's the killing chirp. Like that's the chirp of death.
Be wary, adventurers of the killing chirp.
Yeah. So yeah, there could be communication complications there.
No, that one means he wants to make love. We should still run.
That's too funny. Overall, though, the Aarakocra are generally they're isolationalists. They don't really like people, anyways.
Okay,
they have a hard time talking to them, and they're very peaceful.
I would imagine.
They just live their lives, and they're generally happy. Which again brings us back to you kind of got to give your Aarakocra a great purpose.
Yeah, they need to be tasked, or they need to like find it within themselves to go live some other lifestyle because it's it seems weird.
Well, with Jake, and like his wings were cut off. He's not living with them anymore.
He got fucking hella banished.
So,
he was like the king of the tribe and shit or something. I was like,
yeah, he was chief. Which, if we had known that, he would have been old. But you know what? I don't remember how old Icarus was. But if he was like in his 20s, which I think he was, he would have been pretty damn old.
Yeah.
For an Aarakocra. So I don't got much else to say when it comes to the lore. We can dive into the mechanics real quick. I don't know if you got any questions or anything you want to bring up.
No, the mechanics I think is a good thing. Let's start with the flight. Like exactly how much speed, how much like can we combo it with walking, like those types of things. What's the mobility this race has to offer?
We'll talk about speed. So they have slow walking speed. They can only walk 25 feet around versus every other race is doing 30. Honestly, I feel like that should be nerfed to 20 because of the flight thing, and it makes sense. They're trying to walk on these talons, but whatever, it doesn't matter. They get 50-foot speed of flight. I don't believe it gives a vertical
like a limitation
limit and it shouldn't, because I mean these guys live in high mountains. Like they should be able to fly like up where planes would, you know what I mean? Like there's no reason they shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, I would argue that like it's hard to just flap your wings and go straight up for any creature. So like maybe you should combo it with forward, horizontal movement.
Yeah, maybe make some constitution checks and whatnot.
Yeah, like
you're right.
I want to fly up 30 feet. It was like, well, like a 30 to 30 is pretty good, I guess. You could like you could do that.
I would let them get their full 50 up into the air.
Okay, for sure.
Because I mean they have the speed, why not? And that's the thing too, like when these PCs start flying, now you got to start keeping track of 3D movement.
Yes.
If they get 50 feet, that means like they could go 25 up and 25 this way. So if they went diagonally, that's how far they could get.
Okay, so we're gonna treat it for like the aspect of combat. We're gonna treat it like a grid, like a vertical grid.
That's how I would do it.
That's pretty good, actually. I agree with that.
It definitely, like, if you want that mobility and you want that like that buffness of having 50 foot of flight, like I'm gonna nerf it with like actual constraints because you need to. You need to.
Definitely.
You got to keep track of it. But they cannot fly with medium or heavy armor on, so they're pretty much restricted to light armor, like leathers
or no armor.
And, yeah, so like that really kind of restricts your class choices more so than other races, because if you chose Aarakocra, it's because you want to fly usually. Because if you don't, like, you basically get no features, and it's like, why did you pick Aarakocra unless you really got a really cool character concept you want, like our buddy Jake did. So you're looking at like monks and of course like any kind of caster. Rangers probably in Rogue are probably two of your biggest ones
for sure.
Fighter, if you want to be a dex fighter, sure.
I mean, if you're gonna have
druid too,
if you're gonna have like low AC, then like a fighter is not bad. You could dump a lot of stat into con.
In all honesty, it only keeps you from like rolling any heavy armor, like fighter or paladin. Basically, that's it. Like barbarian, you don't need armor.
Right,
you don't need armor.
Which
I kind of
is
like the idea of an Aarakocra
barbarian.
monk would be cool.
Oh yeah, now that we know more about the monk.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Other than their flight, they get a +2 to dexterity and a +1 to wisdom. Now, those are two very good scores to have bonuses in because dexterity is great for almost any class. Period. End of story.
Yes.
It's also a great saving throw, and same with wisdom. Wisdom is good for like half the spellcasters, and also it's a good saving throw. Yeah. So those are good ones to have. You get talons, so you can fight with your feet. And
so you can. Okay.
Yeah, you get 1d4 worth of slashing damage out of them.
Nice.
With your unarmed strikes, which is cool. But but at the same time, like if you're a monk, you already get unarmed strikes.
Okay. Well,
it kind of like pays off more if you play something that doesn't have unarmed strikes because it gives you that. You can't be completely disarmed.
You don't stack them.
Yeah, exactly. You don't stack them. So there's that, and then the slower walking speed, and we're done. That's it. That's all Aarakocra could get.
Can you combo walking? Like, can you walk some and then fly?
I mean, I would venture to say you should be able to, but at the same time, then it starts getting into like...
Then you're really moving. Like, that's a lot of movement.
Yeah, you can't... that wouldn't be fair to let you walk 25 feet and then fly 50 feet. That's just not fair.
Yeah, maybe you could subtract... Like, well, if you're going to walk and then fly, it's still a total of 50. You could do it like that.
I don't know how I would do it. I know I'm going to have to look into the rules on that one.
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head to make you want to walk and then fly.
Yeah, usually not.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just fly?
I mean,
and also, why would you ever walk? Why wouldn't you just, if you're gonna stay near the ground, why wouldn't you just like glide or hover? Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I don't know how I would treat that, and I don't know how often it would even come up.
No,
but yeah. So Aarakocra, they're an interesting. Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to see. I think I like eagles and falcons and hawks just fine. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I've seen some real like homebrewed, reflavored, we'll say, versions of Aarakocra that draw me in way more. I've seen like owl Aarakocra with like, have you ever seen like those barn owls with like the crazy faces? Like,
that
got one of those.
Cool.
I saw a picture of one of those with like a wizard staff and like in robes. I was like, shit, that looks dope. I kind of want to play that
too. Yeah.
Or also I've seen like raven Aarakocra.
That's really cool. Dope. Isn't there a raven people?
There is. The Kenku are a raven people, but they're kind of short and squat.
Yeah.
And little shitheads.
Yeah. So. Like little yellow, like they're almost like cartoony looking with their little yellow beaks.
They have black beaks usually from what I've seen, but they could have yellow beaks. I don't see why they couldn't. I usually see them depicted with black beaks.
Interesting.
Like
I've seen that. I've seen
a raven,
both.
like a raven.
Okay.
Parrots, like a tropical parrot Aarakocra. That'd be
nice,
fucking cool.
Yeah.
I like that. That's super dope. So yeah, like any race or anything in this game, yeah, like any race in this game or anything in this game, like you can reflavor it how you want, and you can make something bland seem cool. I've always found the Aarakocra a little bit underwhelming, but I mean, there are ways to make it cool.
Yeah, like I'm the Aarakocra that left its people because I found a hobby of shitting on farmers.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And that's just your goal in life. Yeah.
Like I adventure with people because they walk through lots of towns and lots of towns have farms.
It gives me more opportunities to shit on farmers.
Yeah, they sleep in the inn and I go shit on farmers.
There we go. I think we're done. I think we're done with this episode.
Maybe we should
Brian.
call it a game.
Let's call it a game.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bye. Dungeoncast.
I actually don't know how it's pronounced, so I think I've been pronouncing it Aarakocra, but then someone pronounced it Aarakocra, and I was like, that kind of makes sense. They are bird people, and a cock is a male chicken, so maybe
the inflection is just all wrong. Maybe it's Aarakocra.
Yeah, there we go. Aarakocra.
Aarakocra.
Yeah.